Good morning, everyone. Our catering has arrived. Please grab your coffee and a breakfast burrito and take a seat. We want to start our event. Thanks.
Bowling alley. It's like having a conference in a bowling alley. I don't know that that's always a good idea.
I think you can use a microphone now to like really to even more get them.
Really? Are you the whip hand here?
I am.
Yes, she's using her Jersey accent.
All right, you guys. When you guys
Okay, everyone, we're going to start now. The mayor has about 10 minutes before he has to leave for his radio interview. So if you could take your seats, we'll get started. Moving around since we have a handheld, the mayor and I. I don't know if this is the one for the podium.
Yes, this is the one.
Yeah, just whatever you guys want.
Yeah, we might be moving around because it's handheld. Okay.
I was in the middle of the room and couldn't hear.
I know. Oh, you couldn't? Oh my God, really? Okay, so there's a lot of chatter. Thank you guys all for coming. We're going to start our event. A couple people are stragglers, but we have coffee in the back and some breakfast burritos. If I can have your attention in the back. I don't have a bell. You know, I usually have a triangle that I ding. We don't have any glass. If I can have your attention.
They're good. They're just getting their food.
Okay,
They're just getting their
All right, we're going to start off.
Go ahead and just start.
Yes, I'm not a morning person, but I feel like I got some energy. My name is Rich Brown, and I work in the Office of Economic Development, and my colleagues here are Matt Brown and Liz Camacho. I think my other colleague is Fabian Trillo, who may not be here today, but I really appreciate everyone coming out. As I said, it's an early morning. I know some of us are night owls, but we're expecting 95 people in the tech community and the ecosystem, and I can't be happier and prouder of Santa Fe. So thank you very much for coming out. So what I want to do, before we get the mayor to come up and speak, is just talk about the morning. So we're going to have the mayor have some opening remarks. He has a radio show he has to get to. From there, we're going to do a networking exercise where we're going to ask you at the table to introduce yourself, because networking is one of the things we want to make sure you take away. And then from there, we'll have someone from the city talk about how we can support your growth. And then someone from the state economic development will talk about how they support your growth. And from there, we'll introduce our featured panelists. We have 4 of them today, and the mayor will moderate the panel from that standpoint. So with that, I'm going to ask the mayor to come up, say some opening remarks. Oh, before you do, we have 3 takeaways. You come up. You can come up. You can come up. All right, 3 takeaways. We want you to take away: increase your business network, shake hands with someone, give someone your card, talk about what your complementary interests are. We want to know about your growth problems, and you can ask the panel, you can ask the mayor, but we want to know what growth problems you have as you grow your business. And then what are the shared priorities that we need to take away to establish this tech system and this tech ecosystem. I mean, it's great we have so many people here today. There were 40 more people that couldn't make it. So we are a growing group, and we're a growing sector, and we want to make sure we understand how this all works for you. So with that, Mr. Mayor.
Morning, everybody. I am so excited to be here. I apologize for the shape of the room. It's better suited for a bowling alley than for a get-together where everybody can convene and meet and talk to each other. But what a great morning. What a great turnout. This is really exciting for me personally. I brought with me the first issue of Fast Company magazine. About 25 years ago, we put this magazine out, and in the first letter from the editors, I want to read you what we wrote. We said, now you got to think back to about 1995, 94. We said, something is happening and it affects us all. A global revolution is changing business, and business is changing the world. With unsettling speed, 2 forces are converging. A new generation of business leaders is rewriting the rules of business, and a new breed of fast companies is challenging the corporate status quo. I have been waiting to read those words to Santa Fe tech community for about 19 years. And I'm so excited to see everybody here in the room this morning, because it's finally coming to fruition. The little green sprouts that started growing up 5, 10 years ago, when people said, if you look around, there's enough of us to actually have a critical mass, it's starting to happen. It is growing, it is building. You guys are evidence that Santa Fe is really reaching enough creativity, investment, innovation, technological sophistication to have our own ecosystem. And what I like most about it, what I'm most excited about, is it's local talent doing great stuff right here that reflects Santa Fe. Every once in a while I get to go out and go to Austin, sit down with the mayor of Austin, go to Denver, and I look at what's going on in those cities, and I feel really sorry for them. I feel really bad for them because they are losing their soul. If Apple came here and said to me, we want to put $1 billion into Santa Fe and build our next campus here, I would tell them, no thanks. I would tell them, we've got our own thing going on, and we like it better than anything you could bring to us and overlay on top of Santa Fe. And I feel really confident. I feel really proud, and I feel really excited about the people in this room making Santa Fe's technological future happen on our terms, in our way, with our people, and with our culture. And I think this is going to be an example to the country that says you can have technological sophistication, growth, innovation, and investment, and do it in a way that preserves the reason we all live here in the first place. The quality of life, the quality of connections, the people, the history, all of that is in this room with an overlay of technology, investment, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So to see everybody here in this room, even though it's a crappy room, bad rooms make for great conferences. I'm very, very excited. I think the team that has pulled this all together is also evidence that the city of Santa Fe is ready to be a great partner. We've got people inside city government who get it, who want to work with you, who want to be your partner, and who really see this as an opportunity to take Santa Fe to the next level. Now, that said, we're all sad that our dear friend Matt Brown, who helped make all this happen, has been our economic development director for 2 years, has made a tragic error by getting headhunted away to a little city called San Antonio, where he'll be running the business improvement district down there. But I suspect that's going to work great wonders for Santa Fe. He will be sending business our way, making the Santa Fe story grow and spread the news that we are a great place to work, to settle down, to raise a family, to start a business, to grow a business, to send talent. And I think he'll be part of our alumni association going forward. So let's get this show on the road. I will be back. I've got to run over and do a quick radio show. I'll be back. We'll have a panel discussion. We'll grow the infrastructure, make the connections, build the conversation, build the community, and make sure that Santa Fe does it right and does it well and does it with a great deal of fun, spirit, energy, and success. Thank you all.
Perfect. So our next exercise really involves you, and I want you to imagine that you're walking back with the mayor over to his office. You've got 30 seconds. And everybody at the table, we're going to take a 15-minute exercise. You got that 30 seconds with the mayor. Tell us your name, your title, your company, what state you were born in or what country you were born in, and how long you lived in Santa Fe. And if you make it through the round, talk about your favorite breakfast restaurant of the weekend. All right? Well, we have 15 minutes. I want to make sure we make a connection. Name, title, company, state or country you're born in, how long you lived in Santa Fe. Start. It's clockwise, whatever you want. Start clockwise from the top. Yeah. 5-minute warning.
Not to keep you going, but that was 15.
Oh no, I put it on my 15 mark.
I put it on the 15 mark too. Yes,
Oh,
I did.
I have.
Oh,
Let's
you
see.
have 2 minutes to go.
You have 2 minutes to go.
Okay. Oh, maybe mine was just a warning thing.
Survey results. You
What?
can speak to it.
Did you do the survey results?
I know. I put them up. They're next up in the screen. Who's in the audience?
Oh, you should do that.
You're right. It's too late now. But
Yeah.
did you learn something new?
Yes.
Oh, good. The
Yes,
gym table guys.
the Waffle House.
Oh, the Waffle House. Oh my gosh, it was on fire. Yeah. It's like, why did you put me in this space? You didn't even ask me.
What thing?
She was just reporting. She was giving me about alcohol.
But she won't let go of him. She doesn't know how to read body language or something. And you know what? You know it's okay that she invited that guy. We should be more chill about it.
Who was he like? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Well, me too.
He'll
me
make
too
his own.
now.
He'll bury himself. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, the youth works guys are doing their thing. Liz, 1 minute. 1 minute warning. We're ready to go.
Because I think they're getting all riled up. And it's gonna get, then it gets too loud
Yeah.
and you can't stop it.
Yeah.
What's the next thing?
I have a big ring loud, so that's what I'm waiting for. What's that? I have a title 5 minutes. Yeah, you just need me for 5 minutes. Yeah, just 5 minutes. Okay, time's up. Time's up, everyone. Thank you for the exercise. I hope you got to meet a lot of new people. Everybody meet anybody interesting? I'm from the state of Delaware. Is anybody here from the state of Delaware? No, that's an interesting part. Yes. So, great. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that one. Next, we're going to talk about who's in the audience. And I think you know a lot about the people at your table. But we did a survey, and about 30% of you responded back. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who's in the audience. So we asked first, how do you define your business? And these were some of the choices that were made. Data visualization, bioinformatics science, tech ecosystem, the venture capital funding sources. So you can see, just based on that sample of 30%, who we have in the ecosystem. I want to pause on this one here and ask the folks who provide services and support from the city, the county, or the state, or the federal government, if you could raise your hand, so let people know where you are in the audience. We're here to help. Great. And then anyone who provides capital, VC, banking, asset-based lending, et cetera, could you raise your hand? Great, thanks a lot. And then anyone else who's in the ecosystem that helps support technology, the tech system, ecosystem, and our other industry sectors, if you could raise your hand. Great, so nice mix. So everybody else is from tech companies. Make sure you meet them on the way out. So here we go. Size of companies, most of the companies are between 1 and 5 employees. That tells me we have a nice growth path to take. 1 to 5 employees. Entrepreneurism is alive here today, so that's a great thing. How many years in the business? Again, 1 to 5 years. We're at the burgeoning stage. This is one of many of our convenings, so we're hoping to get a lot of information out of this meeting, but also that we can help grow that so that you're retained in the city. We want to make sure you're here for the long term. Obstacles to growth. This is something we can also talk when we get to the panel. Funding sources, of course, is the top of the list. We are a small state with capital that comes from our city or also from, whoops, hello. Put your key in the pot. So funding sources is the number one. We're hoping that we can make sure that we get more interaction with capital that's inside and outside the state. I don't know if you guys know, but we have 5 opportunity zones here. So if you're moving around inside the city, think about moving into an opportunity zones because there's a lot of dry powder there, people with funds that are looking to invest in businesses. Co-working spaces. That's another place. We just opened up the one at Guadalupe, the COFE one. If you haven't been there, definitely stop by. It's a great spot. Recruiting, it's a big thing. We're trying to work on that. We're hoping that you're able to do that too, and hopefully our panel can talk about some of the strategies that they have around recruiting folks. I would like to announce that I heard that the other day that Descartes just surpassed 100 employees, and yes, it was fantastic. 100 employees. And Meow Wolf just surpassed 400 employees. So that's a really good number for our city. Key obstacles the city faces, hinders our growth, housing options. We are doing what we can. We're setting up. I want to let you know that right now there are 55 housing developments in process in the city of Santa Fe. Average units, about 9 units in the building, 10 units, but there's about 55 housing units that the land use folks are processing through the planning department. So with the Opportunity Zones program and hopefully with our Midtown redevelopment that we can actually increase that housing issue we have. And so I think also that Pamela Coster is going to talk a little bit more about some ideas we have around the downtown district and housing too. STEM pipeline. Lena Gurman's here. Lena, would you raise your hand? Lena is driving the STEM program for Santa Fe. She has a great program at Capitol High School, so we're hoping to build a larger pipeline. They just piloted the program, but we want to make sure that STEM's vital to our city and to our pipeline for tech companies. So one on there, business startup resources. We're about to relaunch our website. It's going to take a little while, but we're in the process of redesigning our website, and we're hoping to have a lot more information about how to start your business and what's the journey for an entrepreneur from conception to commercialization to growth and recruitment, talent retention, et cetera, and expansion. Quality of life is where to go at night, housing, education, those sort of things. That there are frameworks of living in a city. Walkability. 6% chose quality of life, so it wasn't a priority for them. That's a bad number. No, it's just saying that 6% of the people who filled the survey out said that it's not as high a priority as housing. So if it was ranked, it would be ranked at the bottom. Okay. And also, we asked a question about how to foster collaboration and strengthening the community and tech system, and what's our shared priorities. And I did a word cloud of the data, but I will have all the verbatims that came out on our website, and I'll send it out to everyone. You can see the survey results. We got all 30 people responded with something specific and thoughtful, and I think urgent for us to do. So that's who we are. And then from there, I want to ask Matt Brown, who's still here. He's our director at the Office of Economic Development, and he's going to talk about what our city office does, and we'll go from there.
Hey, yeah, the guy who made a tragic mistake. Get up and talk. Be entertaining. Hi, welcome, thank you. As the mayor said, as Rich said, this is an incredible turnout, and it's great to see both friends and colleagues and people we've worked with, as well as a bunch of new faces as well. So it bodes well for the future of the tech industry and broadly for the economy and the community of Santa Fe. And a couple of things, and I'm just going to try and talk fast and get the heck out of the way. But I think I realize it might be a little bit helpful to understand a little bit about me and my team. So I'm really a business person. So I've started companies. I was a senior executive at both Leapfrog and at Scholastic. I've consulted with Fortune 500, 200, 100, 10 companies. I've consulted with startups. So I'm you. I just happened to go inside the government for a couple of years. And my team that I've assembled, especially Rich and Liz, also are seasoned business professionals. So we think of ourselves as allies to the business community, but we also see ourselves as business professionals, so that we, I think, have a really wonderful team that's maybe the most capable I think it's the most capable the city's ever had to really work and partner with business leaders and businesses, right, in that a true collaboration to create success for the city and for each of you, and for new entrepreneurs that are not even in the room today, and new companies who might want to move here someday. This is all laying the groundwork for that, and building a lot on the success you guys have already built for the city. You guys are in amazing hands with Rich and Liz and the rest of the city staff that's committed to the future of Santa Fe. The department itself, I know we've got, I don't know if you can read it from back there, because we don't have the best technology, so we can upgrade that if anyone has any good AV. But this is a statement about our kind of purpose and why we exist. And in addition to sort of being advocates for business, we see ourselves as really serving the community. So we don't think of economic development as sort of ending at the economy, but we really see it as the catalyst for opportunity for residents to have great jobs, to find careers, and to build what is unique about the culture and the community of Santa Fe, right? So we really think of ourselves much more as community development. So it's really economic development and service of community. And it goes all the way to the way we think strategically about the types of work and our investments we've done. In my tenure and our tenure here, we've made, with the great partnership of the state, I mean, truly, truly great partnership with the state, we've made 3 LEDA investments. One was in Descartes Labs, one was in Meow Wolf, and one was in Marty's Meals. And all 3 of those is you can see those as companies that are incredibly connected to the culture, the history, and the future of Santa Fe, both strategically and what we think the economy can be built and how it can be diversified, but also just the people themselves. I mean, all these organizations are just full of incredibly passionate, talented, committed people who just want to create the most vibrant, beautiful Santa Fe they can. So it's not about business. It's really about purpose and mission from all those people. I know Mark, I know Vince, I know Sandra, I got to meet her. Like, these are people who are committed to Santa Fe. They're not committed to just having a good job or flipping a company. So that is an indication to me of what the mayor was saying earlier, of how you all are creating and building from the ground up the culture and the future of Santa Fe, and built off of our history, right, and our great traditions. I'm sure there's some other slide up there. Oh yeah, you can read that next one. That one's awesome. Yeah. Yes, I don't have a magnifying glass. But the prior slide, what that was really talking about is, when I joined here, it was Mayor Javier had asked me to join, and he was talking about when his dad had been mayor, and they've been talking for the last 50 or 60 years about diversifying the economy, right? So it's not a new thing. We're like, yeah, let's diversify. I'm like, yeah, we've been saying that for 2 generations. Woohoo, right? But it's actually really, really possible, right? So yeah, we have our number 3 fine arts community. We have incredible tourism and hospitality. We have a lot of government. We have a very robust real estate. So these are these sort of core anchor institutions or sectors. But now we really see with the tech sector, we see with the creative economy and this really an experience economy, and one that is, I know Descartes' a part of, but we see a huge opportunity also in the food sector, which will be this intersection of traditional farming, consumer packaged goods, and ag tech. And so these are 3 areas that we are emphasizing and focusing strategically on supporting, as well as strengthening the core industries. And of course, I left out the film industry, which, yes, that's going to get a lot bigger, a lot sooner, thanks to the passage of the new incentives at the state level. So just what I want to let you know is that diversification is critical. It has been for 40, 50 years, but now we really have this opportunity to make that happen, and you'll, again, will be a part of that. And then what's the goal? There's 2 goals for us in this, not just this meeting, but a lot of work that Rich has been leading for the last year on behalf of our department. One is social capital. Coming from the Bay Area, and who's worked in the Bay Area before? Okay, so in the Bay Area, there's incredibly high business social capital. It feels like if you have a business idea, like you could just like throw it out there and like money's gonna jump at it, right? That's not literal, but it's sort of, it's in the ecosystem. Like if you're in a cafe, like you're hearing people talking about their IPOs and how they're gonna start another company and they're getting job offers. It's everywhere, right? And when I got here, and I've lived off and on here for about 25 years, Santa Fe has relatively low social capital to a place like the Bay Area. So we see the need to create more social capital. And in meetings like this, right, and convening where I watch Mark meet folks from Pebble Lab for the first time, right, that is social capital in the works, right? So we all have to do that. So it's not just we have these meetings, but you all go out and connect with other people, right, and build a stronger network of people who could help each other succeed, right? Help each other solve problems, help each other grow, and even see employees volley back and forth between your companies and go, good for you, right? Because that kind of cross-pollination makes all companies and makes the ecosystem stronger. So part 1 of our goals is much more vibrant social capital in the business community. And part 2 is a game plan. And what Rich showed up earlier is we've heard a lot of what the problems and needs are. You know, the housing, I know nightlife. I had a lot of CEOs tell me, man, it's hard to keep 20-year-olds in this city because there's just nowhere to go at night. So we heard a lot of those things, but we want to take it to another level where we get crystal clear on what are the needs of the business community and what is the city going to do about it, And what are the business leaders going to do about it? What's philanthropy going to do about it? What are investors? So that it really is a game plan that's more coordinated rather than it just being a kind of organic effort to try to build the cluster and build the economy. We're small enough, right? We're 80,000 people, right? We're small enough that we really can have that type of coordinated piece of work. For example, we're doing work and supporting Pamela and her team's work on creating an innovation district in downtown. And it's an incredible piece of coordinated work. So, and it's able to be done. And it's happening here. So we'll see. I know I am leaving, but what you're going to hear from Rich and you're going to hear in a consistent piece of work is getting clear on what's the game plan, right? Where are we trying to go? And what can the city help do? But there's only certain things we can do, right? Like, we're the policymakers. We can change some regulations. We can make certain kinds of grants and investments. We can't do everything. So what are you guys going to do in coordination and collaboration with us? And I'll have to say this. Every time a business leader comes and says, I'm doing something and I don't need the city's help, that's awesome. I love that. I'm like, please go. We'll just cheer you on. And one small thing that I'll just, Simon Brackley's not here today, but when I started here 2 years ago, he said he'd been trying for 10 years to get business licensing simplified and online, and it was just driving him mad. And sometime before the end of this year, both of those things will happen. So is a small little barrier to getting business done is we're gonna make it unbelievably easy to do. And my office and my team has led an effort that didn't get all the way to the finish line at this last legislative session, but we're hoping for next time, which will be functionally statewide business licensing. So hopefully you'll hear more about that. You can all support that because that will make life a lot easier for everybody. Thank you. Thanks. So with that, I'm done. Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Okay, so thank you, Matt. Now we're going to hear from our colleagues at the state. Peter Mitchell is the regional representative. I think he's here. Yeah, perfect. Peter, if you'd like to speak.
Make me speech. Thank you, Rich, for having me in. And before Matt leaves, I just wanted to thank him, Matt Brown, for all that he's done with this city, and especially the mayor. I had a meeting with the mayor and Rich last week, and it was really refreshing to see that the mayor has a lot of the same visions as the governor in terms of convening the investment community, the technology community. We have a new outdoor recreation office coming online here in July. And so I'm kind of dating myself, but I've been doing this stuff for about 20 years, and I've worked for 3 different governors and 1 mayor. And one of the things that I've seen in my history is, in the past, is I knew the business, governmental, educational leaders in all sections of the state better than I knew the ones in Santa Fe, because Santa Fe was so dependent on the tourism and service industry sectors. And just in the past 2.5 years or 2 years that I've been on with the New Mexico Economic Development Program, I've seen such incredible growth and outreach from the technology community, from everybody in the Santa Fe and Santa Fe County area. And so, sure. And so I'll just tell you a little bit about what I do and what our department does. I'm a regional representative. There are 6 of us in the state, and we are basically the business and community development liaison to the folks in our district, to the department, our department programs. Our state's what, 121,000 square miles, so we cover about 20,000 square miles each, except for one lucky guy who gets all the population in Bernalillo. So, but our job is to connect you with the folks that we work with that have the programs in our department. And just to list them here, our Office of Science and Technology, Mariah Tomar, she's not here today, but she extends her condolences for not being here, but she is running our new office. She has some new programs, SBIR grants. We've got a new grant program coming on in July. So I encourage you all to look at those innovation voucher programs, SBIR matching grants with her. We have our job training incentive program. I'll talk about that a little bit later. That's one of our most critical programs. Our finance development team, I see our director back there, Juan Torres. He and his team do an incredible job of providing access to different sources of capital. And then we have our Office of International Trade. And this is an important one that I don't think a lot of people know. We've got a state trade program where we have a grant from the SBA, a federal grant from the SBA that allows us to pick up some of the costs of exhibiting at various trade shows in specific industries that we attend. So it's a real help to the businesses as if your business is attending one of the trade shows that we're doing. So let's move on here. So what we started with the development pattern you all know. It's proof of concept first. We've got innovation vouchers that go up to $2,000. Those are startup capital. I've got a dry mouth. And then we have this new program, this technology, licensed technology from labs and universities. This is a program that's going to be coming on July 1st, allowing businesses to license funding to get licenses from universities, intellectual property from universities. Juan can speak to the commercialization, the Catalyst Fund. If you want to run into him later, he'll help you with that. You're all familiar, we matched $25,000 to $50,000 in phase 1 and 2 of SBIR funding. And then the key programs that are really effective and helpful to businesses the most are our LEDA funds. We have $75 million in the legislature this year. As Matt said, several companies locally have utilized those funds. We're working with a couple more, hopefully to get them online that are in this room. And those funds go for land, building, and infrastructure. It's critical to note that because equipment's not included, and equipment is always one of the biggest costs and most difficult things to finance in creating a business. The job training and wage reimbursement program, we have $12 million from the legislature, and that is basically a program that reimburses you for wages for up to 6 months, depending on the skill of the job that you're taking on. Again, a lot of people in this room have utilized that program as well. It's one of our more effective programs to to help cash flow. And finally, I just mentioned with our international trade, our STEP grant. Excuse me. Okay, next slide, Rich. So these are some of the companies that we've worked with. Some of them are represented in this room. I hope we have a lot more to put on our slide next year when we come in here. But in closing, I just want to thank all the people I work with in this room. I see the county, I see the SBDC, I see the city, and I see my own colleague in our department, and we all work together, and we're really moving in the right direction for Santa Fe, and I appreciate all your support.
Great. Okay, so we're next going into our guest panel presentations. There'll be 4 panel presentations, and then we're hoping that the mayor is going to get back about 9:10. So we have a little bit of time, but they have 5 minutes to tell us their story. And we're going to start first with OpenEye software. Then next will be Descartes Labs, and after that will be Falling Colors Technology, and then from there we'll have Anime Ventures. So we'll start with Craig.
Thank you very much, Rich. So my name is Craig Bruce. I'm the Director of Cloud Operations at OpenEye Scientific. Jump to the next slide. Yeah, I've only got the 3. So I'm really happy. You probably can't read that, which is fine. But I'm really happy to say OpenEye has always been in Santa Fe. This is where we were founded 22 years ago in 1997. We've grown from a company of 1 up to in the 60s globally. We are 60 people here in the US, 50 in Santa Fe. In a few months, that'll be 60 as our intern program kicks in. We'll have 10 interns joining us for the summer months. So what is it that OpenEye does? We are a software company, but a very, very scientific software company. As the CEO corrected me the other day when I said we were a software company, it's really about the science we do. We do R&D for the global biopharmaceutical industry. So our customers are Fortune 500 companies. We work with 19 of the top 20 customers, pharmaceuticals in the world. Our customer base has always been global. Disappointingly, or not maybe unsurprisingly, we have no customers in New Mexico. There's no pharmaceuticals here. We do work with the great folks at UNM, but there's no R&D at that level in the state yet. So we, as I say, we've been here our entire time, which is super exciting, and all our R&D happens here in Santa Fe. The office we're down at Bisbee Court, right just south of the 25. We've been growing substantially. I'll show that on the next slide. The other thing to note is our products. So we have 3 product arms. We have what we call toolkits, or SDKs if you're a developer. We've always had those. That's been one of our key selling points for customers who want to develop and do the science the way they want to do it, but using our tools to start with. If they don't want to develop, no problem. We have a set of applications, so you can use an application on the desktop. But then we discovered sort of 7 years ago that we want to unify some of the applications, and this little thing called cloud computing was actually gaining traction. And some of our customers were, well, 7 years ago, they were very skeptical about doing it for a huge multitude of reasons. But over time, that has changed. And now they come to us asking for, how can we have a scientific cloud strategy? And it's this tiny company in Santa Fe which is helping them out, which is super, super cool. So that product is called Orion. So that's the SaaS platform that I've been working on since I arrived here in Santa Fe. And that's finally been officially released at our customer conference last month. We hold it here in Santa Fe. We bring the customers out to Santa Fe. They can enjoy Loreto for a few days. So that's now launched, and that is gaining a lot of traction. It really solves a lot of their problems around scalability, a unified interface, and endless amounts of science. So it's a really good experience for them. So let's jump to the last slide. So the STAY program, which is really useful for us, you probably just see it, it's nice and proper, is the JTIP program. So we started using the JTIP program 2 years ago. Last year we had 4 employees through the program. This year we have another 4. 2 of them are already on board. We're working to hire the rest. The graph shows the overall count for our US employees, and you can see how it's been going up and how JTIP is becoming an increasing important part of that. In fact, I'm pretty sure we hired more last year because we had access to the JTIP program. Otherwise, we would have kept the headcount growth down a little bit. I will note we have no real external funding. We're completely self-funded from our start. So that's why we've always had to grow based on the success of our products and platforms. I think that is all I have to say. Is that my 5 minutes? Oh, I have another minute. Okay. Well, I will highlight some of the challenges and why JTIP is so important. So the areas we need to recruit in, traditionally, we hire PhD scientists who've worked in chemistry, physics, the pharmaceutical industry. They're pretty hard to find. You may have guessed I'm not a New Mexican. I'm not American either. But that's part of the challenge. To find the skill set we need, we have to look all over the world. We have to go through visa and immigrations. And if you want to hear about how H-1B programs work, I'll be happy to tell you. I'm happier to tell you I'm no longer on that program because it is long, expensive, and well, risky to a degree too. There's no guarantees when you're on a visa program, both for the job or even be able to come into the country sometimes. So I've actually hired 10% of OpenEye since I've been here, over 6 people, and they are all from New Mexico with the skill set I wanted. They were hard to find. We had to look hard. We looked at the boot camps in Albuquerque, the schools, we go to the career fairs, we're looking all over the place. And something that's really worked is just finding the people that are interested and have some of the skills, and we love to train. If you work at OpenEye, you learn something new every day, whether you want to or not necessarily, because we work in a very dynamic area. So finding people that are keen to learn and invest in themselves will invest in you too. And the states helped us do that with the JTIP program. And with that, I will close. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have Mark Johnson with some fancy slides. Mark, you ready to go?
Good morning, everyone. My coffee is finally kicked in, so this should be good. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Descartes Labs here, because hi, back of the room. So 3 things I want to tell you: where we came from, kind of what we do, and a little bit of our successes. So this is the original picture that was published in Fast Company. No relation to me or Weber, but that was the first article about the company talking about how we spun out of Los Alamos National Laboratory. So my background, I went to Stanford, studied philosophy, worked for a bunch of companies. My last company, Zeit, I sold to CNN, and then in a weird twist of fate, sold it out of CNN again in 2014. And so I was kind of taking some time off. Simultaneously, there's this group of scientists at Los Alamos National Laboratory working on deep learning artificial intelligence who wanted to spin this technology out of Los Alamos. So July 14th, Bastille Day, in 2014, I flew out to New Mexico and met this team, and I was just blown away. I couldn't believe that there was this technical talent sitting on a mesa, sort of in a place. I mean, I could have identified New Mexico on a map. I could have reasoned it out, but I certainly had never been here. And I made this crazy move and decided that I was going to go start the company rather than move it immediately to San Francisco, start it in Santa Fe, thinking I was going to move it to San Francisco a year later. I was able to raise money, so we raised $3 million December 2014, and that's how we kicked off. So what do we do at Descartes Labs? So we have the very unambitious goal of building a digital twin of the planet. So what does that mean? Basically, we use a lot of different types of data about the planet, often satellite data and weather data and other sorts of sensor data, to try to understand large-scale systems, especially natural resources. So we look at how much food is growing on the planet, we look at our energy infrastructure, we look at building materials, so mining and kind of how that translates into what humans build, and we try to understand this at global scale. So rather than just understanding what's going on in a single farmer's field, we ask questions like, how much soy is growing in Brazil, the largest soy producer in the world? What's the energy infrastructure look like in Texas at scale? How many windmills are there? How many solar panels are there? So we do all this stuff kind of at global scale, trying to understand how we as humans are extracting resources from the planet, moving them around, refining them, and then doing things with them. And this is great because it gives us a picture of what's happening on the planet so we could be better stewards of these natural resources. So our customers typically are customers who sort of work in these commodity supply chains, and we help them to be more efficient and more responsible. One more. So just some success. We just have announced a few customers. We have more than this, but we're about 4.5 years old now. We've had $38 million in funding in 3 rounds. I'm almost proud to say, and this is something we could talk about on the panel, 97% of that money is from out of state. And that means a few things. One is that it's nice to bring money into the state. But secondly, as we go out for larger rounds, that kind of capital doesn't necessarily exist in New Mexico outside of the State Investment Council. And if we need to go get $50 or $100 million, we know where to get it. We've taken advantage of JTIP and LIDA. If you haven't been by our beautiful new headquarters, please come by. We received $800,000 in LIDA funding. It's a beautiful, beautiful space. I'd love to show it off. It's something that attracts employees. When someone comes here from out of state, about 60% of the people living who work in this office are from out of state. And when they come here and see our office, they think, wow, this is amazing, right? This is way better than any sort of headquarters you could get for a company of similar size in San Francisco. We've also taken advantage of JTIP from the very beginning and hired much faster than we could have otherwise. We have so we have 5 offices around the world. Well, I guess around the world if you consider Alaska a different country. But probably soon to be opening offices elsewhere. So we about 2/3 of our employees here, 1/3 of them San Francisco, New York, Denver, Minneapolis. So we're spread out. And we have customers, right? I think one of the things that you forget when labs is in your name is that we don't just do scientific research. We do practical scientific research that makes money for our customers. We're building a real business here. So couldn't be happier to be in Santa Fe, not going anywhere, and looking forward to the panel. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Next, we're going to have Pamela Custer from Falling Colors. Thanks, Pam.
Hi, all. Well, in direct contrast to Mark, we have a completely different business model. We are homegrown and have been in New Mexico for a long time. The majority of our employees are from New Mexico. We have a few that are not, but they're becoming New Mexicans with 2 notable exceptions. Well, you sure can't see that, can you? So what we do is we do a platform that supports fund distribution. So some people call that fintech. We do alternative models to Medicaid. We do large funds where there's grantees or recipients or providers. We do the whole thing from contracting all the way through payment. One of the things that's really important for us is that everything we do impacts social determinants. So that's always our lens on everything we take. Does this impact things in a way that we think is positive? Are we working on improving the community? So one of the ways we use this sort of software to improve the community is it's an alternative to health insurance. It's an alternative to Medicaid as a way to distribute funds. And if those of you who are interested in talking about it, of course, I can talk about it all day. We also do, in service of social determinant change, we do a lot of data collection, analytics, predictive analytics for different initiatives that happen both at the foundation level, companies, state, municipalities, you name it. Whoever is distributing a large amount of funds to make a change in a community, we're there. Let's see, what else? I guess one of the things I want to say is that we have an awesome, awesome team, and our recruitment strategy has been fundamentally our team members. They like working for us so much, they go and get their friends to come and work for us, and of course, good workers know other good workers. So that's probably been our single best strategy, is treating our employees really well, and they bring us others. Let's see. The other thing that we focus on tremendously, because we deal with privacy, we have a lot of medical data, we have a lot of healthcare data that's behavioral health, is security. So we have a branch of what we do that's focused on security. We have world-class, we have our security aces, we call them. So we spend probably more time on that than many companies do. I think that's probably it. If you have other questions for me, feel free to ask. Mindy's right here. She's my co-owner, my partner, and she'll tell you probably more than I can about the way we operate. The main thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is this idea that I have that the city is helping me think about it. There are some people in the audience that are helping me think about it. We've actually even hired somebody. We've contracted with a person who has expertise in this area to help us not only think about it, but to get things done. And that is creating an area in the downtown to support tech innovation, tech integration. What I noticed when we moved to Santa Fe, which was about 3.5 years ago, we have offices downtown, by the way, and we just bought a building downtown. So I'm just spending a lot of time here looking at things, and I noticed how many spaces in these buildings are vacant, how many buildings themselves are vacant. I also thought, wow, a lot of these are falling down. That doesn't really seem like a good basis for a vital town, a vital city. So we started thinking about what can we do about it, and we have begun to establish an innovation district in downtown. We are about to open an innovation center at Falling Colors. The coordinator that we've contracted with, Brooke, sitting right here, is actually going to help us make that innovation center become something where we will offer resources to people who are trying to bring their technology up, trying to bring employees to Santa Fe, trying to bring their companies here, or actually create companies here. So a little bit of a hub. We're starting to look at grants. John just brought us a grant to think about. We have another person, Jennifer, those of you probably know her from New Mexico Tech Works. She brought us a grant. So really, I think we have the infrastructure. We have the most amazing qualities here in Santa Fe that really could become a true innovation district. So one of the things that I'm hoping to get from this meeting is an interest in people that would like to see this happen and are willing to do a little bit of thinking about it, maybe willing to do a little bit of work. The kind of work that I'm talking about is just developing a voice, thinking about how we might do different investment strategies to bring the city up. We've got great partners in the city and the state. They're helping with that. What we need some more people who are business leaders who want to grow their companies here, and what are the things they need. We all face the same problems. We all face the recruiting problem. We all face some of the other basic infrastructure problem, fiber. We all need that sort of stuff. We all have young staff. Tech workers are young. They want to hang out at night. They want things to do. We need to bring that here. We need to help it ferment. We need to help it grow. And I am asking for those of you who are interested in making this happen to come and join us as we move forward. Please talk to me afterwards. You can talk to Brooke afterwards and Mindy if you have any interest in this, which I hope you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our last presenter is Dorian Rader. I think she's over there. Yeah, there she is. She's with NMA Ventures. Thank you, Dorian.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I'm not a morning person, so this is early for me too. Oh, thank you. So, I'm a native New Mexican, actually born and raised in Bosque Farms and lived on, I'm from an Air Force family, so raised on Kirtland Air Force Base actually for a lot of my life, but always a part of Santa Fe, one of my favorite places to go. And so we launched NMA Ventures as a part of the Catalyst Fund last April. I was with the New Mexico Angels for the last decade. I was the vice president over there. So originally we had no intention of jumping into the venture game. You know, we were already deploying capital, but as all the Catalyst funds kind of rolled out, they were all very specialized. And we thought that there was a gap in the market for general technology, and especially software. And so we decided to launch this fund, and I was the one with the most energy to run it. So my partners are John Chavez and Sherman McCorkle, for those of you who know them. But we launched our fund, like I said, last April, and it's a $4.2 million fund. We're hoping to cap at 5. And we do investments in tech companies. The only thing we don't invest in is biotech, because there's a few biotech funds, and so it's already pretty well filled in the market. Typically, our investments are anywhere from $300,000 to $600,000, and we do leave some in reserve for follow-on funding, because if you've launched a company, you know that usually you need funding more than once, and we understand that. And so, I'm going to keep my presentation pretty short here, because it's pretty simple. What VC does is, we give money. And so, but this I think is an important slide. And so it's about what we invest in, what we look for when we invest. And so the number one thing for me is team. And so for anybody who's read the book Venture Deals by Brad Feld, it's a really interesting book. I'm a little bit of a nerd, so it's my favorite book. But they have an interesting stat in there. And so it actually still rings true today. But the average venture deal lasts longer than the average marriage in America. So you're really married to your venture capitalists and your funders, so you have to make sure that it's the right team and the right match. But we also look really strongly for the commercialization plans, not just I'm going to go to market, but how do you go to market, and what happens, I give you funding on day 1, what happens on day 2, that kind of thing. We also, for us, we look for IP, so trade secrets, patents, intellectual property, those sort of things. The market, of course, with all VC, it's, we want to see a high growth market and an exit in a few years. And then a reasonable valuation. So for us, because we're early stage guys, it doesn't make sense for me to invest in a company that's worth $50 million, just the simple math of it. But one of the things when we talk about teams, so we actually we've done one investment out of our fund. We invested in Brad Morrison. Brad, can you raise your hand? So we actually did our first investment in a Santa Fe company. So if you guys get a chance, please meet Brad, because that's one of the things Brad and I talk about is, as a venture capitalist, we provide more than just funding. We want to be that coaching, that ear. But one of the things Brad and I were talking about just yesterday was, how does he meet other people in the tech community in New Mexico, especially in Santa Fe? And so, are there different ways that they can network and meet? And especially from the VC side, on the slide it said 60% say the hardest part is access to capital. Well, I think a big problem is nobody knows we exist. So, I launched my fund last year, and I keep getting people saying, I had no idea. And so, that's why I joke with everybody, if there is a chance for me to speak to your organization or anywhere I can, let me know. I am happy to show up. If you feed me, I'm good. So, last slide, please. So we did an event in Albuquerque a couple months ago. It was with Albuquerque AD, and they did it was like a quick pitch kind of Shark Tank type thing. And Don Kirby, who's here with Aspen Vista, had a great point. And so one of the things in New Mexico is we're really relationship-based funders. So, if I meet you today, I'm probably not going to fund you tomorrow. It's a process. But get involved early. Come meet us, with Brad. I met him, and, we funded him, I think it was 6 months later. And so it's a pipeline. It's a process. I want to get to know you. I want to see how your company is working, how things are going. And so just, New Mexico is a wonderful state, and especially Santa Fe. You guys have a huge advantage because you have Sun Mountain here. And so, Dan and Lee and everybody here, awesome. And so, but you have those resources here, so you can reach out. It's not like, Silicon Valley, sometimes it's a little bit harder to go meet a VC. Here, we'll take your calls. We'll have coffee with you. We're pretty nice people. And so, get out in the community, attend events like this, try to widen your base and apply for funding. I'll be, I'm a very honest, but I think a pretty nice venture capitalist. I'll tell you if it's not right for me, but I'll tell you why. I won't just say no and slam the door in your face. And so, I'll explain why. And, are there ways that I can coach you that maybe in 6 months or a year, or, is there somebody else who's right for you, helping you get funding? So, so my whole team, we're all native New Mexicans. We're committed to New Mexico. We're committed to getting companies founded and funded here. There's a campaign in Albuquerque called Stop Bagging, Start Bragging. And so that's what we're here, to talk about is here's all the great things New Mexico has. And, there's a statistic where New Mexico is 13th in the nation per capita for available venture capital dollars. I mean, that's huge. And so, apply for funding. And if it's not right, we'll tell you, but we'll get you lined up with the person who is.
Thank you, Doreen. Oh, yeah. So the mayor has returned. Hope it was a good radio show. Fantastic. Okay. City's still moving. So I'm going to invite our featured panelists up to the stage and turn it over to the mayor, and he can start our discussion. Once they've done, then we can have Q&A.
Anybody who is not on the panel but would like to be on the panel, come on up.
We have to get you a chair, sir. I thought you were going to.
Are we short a person?
Yeah. We're sort of chair.
You want to get? I thought I'd sit up here
Yeah,
because
good.
I'm
Okay.
not as tall as you. All right, great. I'm sorry I missed the first part of the morning, but it looked from all reports like everybody was engaged and well-fed and slowly waking up. Just for the record, just so you know, I hate panels. I think they are not conducive to real learning and real conversation. So we're going to try to do this as if we were sitting in a circle or at a coffee shop, having coffee, talking about ideas, and building on each other rather than everybody take 2 minutes to give a 2-minute soundbite. So talk among yourselves. What I really want to know, and I think I think you got a pretty sophisticated, very bright, very experienced group of people in the room today, and I don't think we need to revisit the problem set. I think everybody spends way too much time on what we don't have or haven't had, or can't we get Microsoft back? I even heard that this morning. Let it go, people. It's gone, and we don't want them back, okay? If you're in the room, Microsoft, we do want you back, but not that way. So let's talk about next steps. We have a great group of talented people. We have all the components of the next cool place to start, grow, build a business. Our way. Nobody else's way. Our way. What are the steps? What are the things we need to do to connect people, to build on what's already happening, to take it to the next level? Not what can the city do, what do we all do collaboratively to take our burgeoning, growing, flourishing startup community, entrepreneurial community, and let's, take it higher. Mark, are you awake yet? All right, take the microphone and start a conversation, and then pass the mic, and let's everybody just pitch in. All right. Are you on?
So I guess I got it. All right. So probably the first thing that we can do is continue what we have here. I've done a lot of community organizing in my life, and we always start with what do we have? What are our strengths? What are our resources? What are our gaps? So that's what we're in the process of doing with the whole innovation thing. And it doesn't need to stick just downtown. We've got these other great areas of things happening. We have the opportunity zones. We've got the Midtown campus. We have all the things that are going to happen with film that is very exciting. Connecting all of these things creates a really nice synergy. And the way that we connect is that we start talking and we start looking at what can we bring to the table? What can I, as a person, bring to the table, as a business person, as an employee, whatever your particular role is, as a filmmaker, what can I bring and what can we do together? So I think we continue this.
Yeah, I think one of the things that keeps me here, that gets me motivated, is the community around us. And I just met Pebble Labs for the first time today. That's weird. Where are you, Pebble Labs?
Hi, Pebble.
So Spinell Los Alamos, 85 people. Wow, that's awesome. Like, we often talk like there's no other technology companies in town, and that's just not true. And I think communities like this are really, really important to remind ourselves that we do have a community here, that we can share resources, that I'm bringing in people and they need jobs, or their spouses. Well, I'm giving them a job, but oftentimes their spouse needs a job. And just knowing that there's a community here, I think, is absolutely critical as we bring people in. So more of this, more networking. And frankly, less government too. Like, one of the things that kind of was creepy. No offense, but no, seriously. Like, imagine if you're in San Francisco and you asked, who's here from government in the room, and a quarter of the room raised their hand. Right? That's just not going to happen. What we need to have is 99% of the room be companies and industry, and a small percentage of the room be government. So, I think we just need to change that ratio.
Yeah, I think the fact that we need to find each other is so important. I really met Mark the very first time at a regional roundtable organized by New Mexico Tech Council and the Rich Refinement Center. Events like that is how we find each other. I've never even heard of Pebble Labs. Why have I not heard of you? You're a company bigger than we are. That is crazy. So it would be really good to have more events like this. Doesn't always have to be this big. We do small events too, like once a month, a small group of us in the more SRE, the DevOps area, get together for coffee once a month. We talk with the founders and the engineers at Descartes and other companies, and you're probably doing the same thing too. Let's come and speak with us too. We want to hear from your experiences. We might have different customers, different products, but we face a lot of similar challenges, both technically and being here in Santa Fe. So yeah, I really want to meet each and every one of you at different multiple events. So more of that is super useful. And even though I've been working with people on this panel, I've just learned more about you. That means I should have more conversations. So more of that is always good.
Yeah, I agree with what everybody said. There needs to be more interaction. You got it, Julia. Okay, Julia, I got it. So see, again, interaction. Julia and I know each other. So I think it's just more interactions. I'd love to be able to know everybody in here by name, or, just run into you and say, hey, I know what your company's doing. How you guys doing so far? Even if I can't fund you, are there ways I can help? But, more interactions like this. And, one of the things we do is, sometimes, again, venture capitalists or investors in general, it kind of feels like we're hard to reach. And so one of the things we've actually been doing are office hours. So in Albuquerque, we do office hours the first of every month, but it's a big state. So we've actually been doing virtual office hours. So, we can video chat, we can talk on the phone. I had somebody who wanted to have a text conversation the other day, which is fine too. But, for us, it's just being as accessible as possible. And, for early stage companies, everybody on the panel here, I'm sure, can tell you, well, with the exception of you didn't have to raise money, but, how to raise money. And it's definitely an art. And, there's not a whole lot of education out there about how to raise venture capital or angel or any type of funding. And so one of the other things we're doing is we're actually putting on Equity 101 seminars. Here's what an angel does. Here's what a VC does. We have a 202 where we talk about term sheets. And so, I truly feel that, if I'm going to fund your company, you first need to understand how funding works. And so, any way we can help to build that pipeline, that's what we're trying to do.
Is there anyone from the press here? See, this is a bummer too. I was just thinking, like, in terms of building community, one thing that I think our local press does an abysmal job of is report on the successes here. If you read the front page of the newspapers, you often hear the worst stories, sometimes ridiculous stories. But we have a lot of successes, and they never talk about them. So it's a bummer that there's no one here. But again, it takes a community to talk about all the amazing things going on. And I do hope that the press sort of wakes up that there's a lot of great things happening in Santa Fe in terms of economic development.
I think Mark makes a good point. I can tell you that from my own experience, the solution to any problem is to start a magazine, and it really, it works. So far it's one for one, and therefore the proof is there. And if we can't start a magazine, the point that Mark makes is absolutely right. We do not do a good enough job of telling our own stories. And I don't know, maybe a year or so ago, Mark and I talked about putting money into a kitty and collaboratively creating our own storytelling channel. Just go around the newspapers, go around the traditional media. Let's create, the Santa Fe storytelling network. Well, there is one already, but let's populate it with stories about everybody in this room, because I promise you, everybody in this room has a great entrepreneurial story. And I actually don't believe in categories like VC stories versus startup stories versus HR stories. It's an entrepreneurial story about Santa Fe rising to the surface in its own way and creating a community of people who are doing really cool stuff, and we're doing it our way. But that story isn't really being captured. So I volunteer as mayor. We will put resources on the table to create a storytelling capability if you all will step up and put some capability in the kitty, and we'll build our own storytelling network, and it will be a way to teach. You can actually learn how to raise money, how to build a team, how to get over a speed bump when you hit your first one. Just by telling stories to each other, I don't think any other community in the United States could do what we could do here in terms of storytelling, building network, educating, and putting us on the map with each other and with other people. You want to start a business, you want to grow a business, you want a great job, Santa Fe is the place to do it.
That's exactly right. That's just great, because if you think about when we all start talking about it, you see this in any system. When we start talking about it, when we start promoting it, because really that's what we're doing when we're telling our stories, it becomes a thing to itself. It develops its own momentum. There's even a word for when we institutionalize something like that, reification. Well, let's go for reification of tech in Santa Fe, which I think you're absolutely right. The media, our own stories, and Falling Colors will put resources on the table for this as well.
Great, thank you. But I just want to point out one thing. This is a city where everybody should know each other, but Pamela and Mark met each other when I invited them over to the mayor's office for a cup of coffee. And anybody wants to come have coffee in my office and meet each other, I will be your host. I want to be that kind of a connector, what my friend Seth Godin calls a sneezer, because we all ought to know each other. And if you don't know each other, call my office and say, I want to have a cup of coffee in the mayor's office with Pebble Labs and 10 other people. We'll host you. What else can we do to keep the energy level up and make those connections?
I want to follow up on something else that Mark said. So we have employees that work for us. Our employees are data scientists. They're security geniuses. They're high, hardcore tech. They have girlfriends. They have boyfriends. They have spouses who are creatives, who cook, who maybe also do tech. We need employment for them too, because we're often bringing a couple. It's not really how we think about it, but that's the actuality. We're bringing a family in some cases. We need all of us to work together to provide that environment where I hire a really awesome software developer and his wife, who does filmmaking, has options here in Santa Fe. That becomes a barrier for him to come here if I can't offer that. In fact, we have one couple like that, but she's willing to give it a shot and go out on her own. But it sure would have been nice if I would have said, yeah, there's a whole group that I can connect you with, start talking over here. So this is a thing we can do for each other.
Someone has a question.
Well, and let me take it a step further. So I'm willing to have coffee with anybody in my office in the morning. This issue of the trailing spouse phenomenon is something that is solvable. And like the offer of storytelling, we'll put some resources on the table to create a trailing spouse organization if you all will do the same thing. Let's create a public-private partnership to solve the trailing spouse problem by creating a little group of people who say, we'll own that. We'll take that one on. The city will be a clearinghouse, but we need 10 people from folks in this room who say, we'll also put some energy into it. So when anybody's recruiting anybody, there's a place to send them to say, you got a trailing spouse problem, we'll help solve it.
Oh, yeah, please.
This is great. I mean, we can put together that kind of a consortium. We know there's a solution. We just got to get organized to solve it. There's a hand in the back.
Yes.
Microphone.
What?
I can't hear you. You're not using a microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we can have a microphone to the audience. I think is the question here.
I'll bring it after
This one's dead.
Oh.
This isn't working.
You're Sorry.
Wah wah.
Okay, well, we're going to go on that tangent of trailing spouses. I'm an example of a trailing spouse, and yeah, not only for the tech industry here, but we've got a lot of smart people getting hired at Los Alamos Lab, including my husband, 22 years ago, and smart people marry smart people. You know, educated people marry educated people. And so I'm an example of a trailing spouse. But the thing is, I also stepped out of the workforce to raise my kids and continued to network and volunteer and work part-time. So I need you to look out of the box, too, for not just the trailing spouses that are coming right now, but the ones who want to get back into the workforce, who are in Santa Fe. And I know a lot of spouses of Los Alamos employees are looking for work. But you have to look out of the box, and you have to look at that resume and say, okay, well, there was a gap of 5-7 years, and that's okay.
Looks like somebody's going to start a meetup group. She knows a lot of people.
Hello, Gabino, CEO Integrated Solar Technologies. I have a question to all the panelists. I guess it's about energy, the energy sector, and especially smart distributed grids, which we are involved in. There's a lot of disruption, agile disruption, which is happening in the sector. Most of which, I mean, United States, just like you know, but it's pretty much one of the widespread grid-tied, electrified country. So what my question to you guys is how to make Santa Fe, if you're going to make Santa Fe a center of innovation, especially for energy, I think also you have to welcome a lot of disruptors, because a lot of disruption happening. And disruption doesn't necessarily, by the time disruption is in the paper or adopted by the industry, it's too late. So in order to validate disruptions, you got to create a small ecosystem within which to validate that. So that's something that we're looking for. That's what we have been doing since we even got out of R&D, because along the way, people kept telling us it cannot be done. It cannot be done, and we keep proving them wrong. So how does Santa Fe, to turn Santa Fe into not only the center of innovation, attraction, but also for disruptors? Thank you.
I would point right back at you. So when I first got here, I told people I've bright-eyed and bushy-tailed coming out of San Francisco. Like, I didn't know any better, and I told people, oh, we're a spin-off from Los Alamos. And people had been burned by, as far as I can tell, decades of companies saying that they were going to be the next big thing coming out of Los Alamos. We've been fearless from the very beginning. We have made bold choices from the very beginning. Employee number 12 was a recruiter because I knew that we're going to have to grow this company. I knew that people were our biggest talent. We didn't create a center of excellence in Santa Fe by creating a networking group or by getting government assistance. We created a center of excellence around big data because we're building something exceptional, something world-class, and people will look at us, and we will spin off more companies from this. There'll be people that leave Descartes Labs and start new companies. We'll inspire people coming out of Los Alamos. So yes, there's certainly the community can help, the government can help. There's all these factors that can help, but you're the person that's going to create an energy center of excellence here in Santa Fe.
We're all disruptors. Just want to make the comment that we're all disruptors. We're disrupting Medicaid. That's a pretty big go, and it's pretty fun. So I mean, that's really what startups are about. Most of us take risks. Most of us have an element of rebellion. Most of us have been told endlessly it can't be done. So what I hope that we do is we support each other in whatever line we want to go. We say, yeah, go for it. It's really nice to have voices that say, yeah, you can do it, instead of, yeah, you can't do it.
Also, we should talk about power grids.
I can give examples of the similar things we've done too. We had to take long-term bets sometimes. Projects take 7 years to do. We can take that risk. We have the time to do it. We have the talent to do it. We have some new technologies coming out around solubility prediction, which in the pharma industry is super important. Oh, is that better? Oh, okay. Yeah, we have some new technologies. We've been working on another long-term R&D process. Remember, we're a science company. We just communicate through our software. And our customers are really excited about the results we're getting, but years and years of development, it's a super hard problem that they couldn't do because they haven't got the time to invest in such a long project. But we, sitting here quietly in Santa Fe, can do that. So.
No, and I think you're a perfect example. So we had a conversation Gambino and I had a conversation last week. So he relocated from Pennsylvania to Clovis, New Mexico, of all places, and now to Santa Fe because he chose Santa Fe. But he's a perfect example of someone who's reaching out, trying to find the resources. He's attending our Equity 101 webinar tomorrow. And so, again, I think you'll do it. And, yeah, you be the center.
Okay. Little back to government a little bit and to disruption. I think, one great thing that we can use from government is the help of a framework where those little disruptive things can happen. I mean, many are already in the paper, but delivery robots that can transit the sidewalks, or taxis that are self-driven, or allowing drones to fly. You can go talk with the FFA to, set up a plan for that. So there's a lot of room for the government to let those things happen. And if we want to be a city that is really innovative, I mean, we need to allow those things to happen, because otherwise other city will do it and will just be trailing. There's also we were talking about we're in the software as a service business, and we pay GRT tax for the services that we serve from, the San Francisco cloud to clients out of state. So we're at the disadvantage of 8% cost just in things like that. So there's, little things that can be done. And on the housing, I do believe the city has it a little bit backwards with the affordable housing way of taxing developments. That that is for a different conversation. But I would like to later on help with housing and with an opinion. Thank you.
Was there a question?
No,
Oh,
but let me
okay.
talk. All right, so let me talk about. It's okay. Was it the entire thing was a question? Let me talk about housing for a minute. I had a wonderful breakfast the other morning with a group of people who are concerned about housing in Santa Fe. Folks from Lannel, Mark was there, Vince was there, and let me just see a quick show of hands. How many people in the room know that the City Council will be voting on whether or not to allow accessory dwelling units to be rented for long-term rental opportunities for people, particularly younger people, I suspect, who need a place to live. How many know that is in front of the city? How many of you have called a city council member to tell them that you think that ought to be passed, because without it we won't be able to have young people, employees of all of your firms, be able to live in Santa Fe? Has anybody picked up the phone, written a letter? So here's what happens.
Do it, please.
Mark is right. I mean, here's what happens. Government is not a self-sustaining operation. It only works when you work at it. It's not a spectator sport. So if the fundamental thing we need to do is create more housing for young people who want to move here and work here or stay here and work here, you got to pitch in and help. I have about a 5 or 6 point housing program agenda that I'm pursuing as mayor. It starts with this accessory dwelling unit ordinance that I will be the first person to tell you is really small potatoes. It will not fix our housing problem. But if we can't even do that, the message it sends to the folks in our community who are many more than us, who love the status quo, the message is, why bother? You can't even get the smallest change done to city ordinances around housing. So pick up the phone, call a city council member, say, we need the accessory dwelling unit. It is ordinance. It will not solve our problems. We know it. We're also looking at extending our fee in lieu of ordinance. We're looking at our short-term rental ordinance. We're looking at building housing on city-owned land. We're looking at the Midtown campus. We're looking at Tierra Contenta Parts 2 and 3. We're looking at private sector developers who have already gotten their approvals to break ground. There's about 2,000 units that have been approved by the Planning Commission that have not yet broken ground. We got to sit down with the developers and the builders and say, what's it going to take you to build the housing? Because the demand is here. The demand, Los Alamos has 1,500 interns showing up this summer with nowhere to live. Those are renters who ought to be in Santa Fe going to our shops and our restaurants, and after they're done with their internship, applying for jobs at all of your businesses. So in the immortal words of Jerry Maguire, help me help you. Politics is not a dirty sport. It is what we are about to help build the infrastructure to provide the services, whether it's broadband, communication technology, or housing, or the power to convene, or to get better press coverage, or to tell stories, or to help trailing spouses and families. That's the job, that's the business I'm in right now. But I need you guys to step up so that the agenda that we're putting out there gets support, and then we'll be building the community together.
So I have a question around that, and it's probably echoes some other people in this room. How do we stay engaged to know there's things we need to be calling councillors about? Because if I know, I'm happy to do it, but if I don't know, then I think that's going to be a challenge.
Well, it is a truism of everybody's business here, and it's where we started this conversation. Communicate, 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 connect, connect, connect. The city has a website. You can track it. We just hired a new public information officer who started her first job on Monday. We'll be doing more, but our economic development team will be doing more. I think what you're seeing with city government in general is disruption as well. Don't forget, I am the first full-time mayor in the city's history. Shocking thought, yes. Santa Fe, until I got elected a year ago, had a part-time mayor. So we are building city government one day at a time with the capacity to deliver on all of these agenda items. So again, it's an ongoing, disruptive, entrepreneurial government process. But I think we all see the world through the same eyes, which is there is unlimited potential in our community if we work on it collaboratively. Other questions?
Tracy? You want a mic?
I don't think so.
Hi, I'm Tracy with Deploy Hub. And so while I understand that trailing spouses are a problem, that housing's a problem, it's not my problem. I think I would call these Series B problems instead of startup problems. This is not what I would say, I can't start a business here because there's no housing or because I can't hire anybody because their spouse doesn't have a job. So I'd like to make sure we circle this around and understand that there is a startup problem here, and the startup problem feeds into the other problems. Because when you can't have a ecosystem of startups, you're not going to have places for people, for trailing spouses to go to. So we have a chicken and egg issue that I think that the community at large needs to address. And I appreciate Dorian talking about the networking issue. One of my first networking events I went to is one of John's dinner at Christmas time, and I have to say I learned more from that dinner than I had ever learned from going to anything else. But we don't have very many of those. I've been on a plane going back and forth to San Francisco quite a bit, and I've learned a bunch. And I go to a lot of networking dinners in San Francisco, and I've met now tons of high-level investors that I'm starting to build relationships with, but I don't have that experience here. So we have a chicken and egg problem that I think needs to be addressed before we take too many strides in fixing the housing the Series B issues. I understand those have to be fixed, but let's talk about some Series A issues in the future.
So one of the things, again, I apologize, I'm from Albuquerque, so I apologize using Albuquerque examples, but one of the things we have in Albuquerque is 1 million cups. And so 1 million cups is by Kauffman Foundation, but every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m., a bunch of entrepreneurs get together for coffee, and they choose 2 or 3 companies to present. But it's one of those things, it's recurring, and it happens every single week, so you know that if you want to go meet people, you can go meet them there. But, maybe that's something to consider for Santa Fe. Okay. I'll sponsor the donuts.
So we're about 9:35. I just want to show hands. Can we continue on for another 10 minutes? If anybody has any questions, or we can have a little bit more discussion. Everybody good with that? Yeah. Okay, good. No? Audience questions?
Hey, I'm John, and one of the things that I'm really, my broken record is that Santa Fe is different. We're very different. And the types of people who come to Santa Fe are not exactly normal. How many people came to Santa Fe for a job? All right. I did not come to Santa Fe for a job. I had a job. I brought my job here. And if you think about our traditional people in Santa Fe, they're artists, right? They're independents. They're creatives. And I'm going to use the term, they're freelancers. They're gig economy people, all right? I think that to be unique here in Santa Fe, we need to make sure that we are attractive to freelancers. I'm a solopreneur. I'm looking for other individuals that I can network with, that I can work with, who are really more of the mindset of the freelancer gig economy. So in addition to attracting businesses, we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure and the connections to attract this mentality, which we already see in the artists in town, but for technologists who are of that same independent creative bent. So what do you think about that?
I think it's a both-and world. I have a slightly different take on Santa Fe, which is we're basically one large TED Talk. I mean, if you look at the origins of TED, it's technology, entertainment, and design. That spells Santa Fe to me. That's our brand. And what's happening around the world and around the United States is the TED Talk mentality has become the basis of the technology economy. There is nothing that is not technology today. I mean, there is nothing that is not technology. Whether you're talking about medicine, you're talking about art's technology. You are seeing I'm more concerned about the future of Canyon Road than I am concerned about the future of an innovation zone, because the world of art and art galleries is also being disrupted. So I think we are the perfect place to think about this intersection of technology, entertainment, and design as the basis historically for our economy and the new economy being spun forward. Meow Wolf is basically Canyon Road on digital steroids. And we got to keep thinking that way, and that will propel us into the future.
Got one other question in the back.
Hi, everyone. My name is Puri. I come from a company called Flow Science. So events like these are great. It's nice to know about other technology companies in Santa Fe.
Can you hold on for 1 second? Does everybody in the room know Flow Science? See, this is why we got to talk to each other. Flow Science has been in business in Santa Fe for 20 years now?
30.
30 years. Coming down from Los Alamos, doing incredible technology work, and you should not be introducing yourself for the first time to a room of entrepreneurs. Okay,
I was expecting a round of applause when I said Flow Science.
You deserve one. How many people work at Flow Science now?
So do I get my 5-minute pitch too? So I was in a. Oh yeah. So we're a company of 38 people in Santa Fe, and which brings me to my question.
I'm not done yet. How many of the people who work at Flow Science are double degree employees?
At least 70 to 80%.
Thank you. Okay, now you can talk.
Thank you, man. So of these 35 people, 70% of us are young professionals like me. So we moved to the city, and when I speak this, I speak on behalf of my company employees too. Events like these are great, but I feel they're too few and far in between because it's all the leaders and the executives getting together trying to organize and solve some of these problems. I never get to really meet like employees, similar employees from other companies like Pebble Labs, Descartes. I know there are mixed events and stuff going on, but like how do you encourage more such social meetings, rather, let's say, and go from there?
Amen. So Peter Burrill, who runs our community events here, say hi. If you want to do something with Descartes Labs, we're happy to do so. One of the reasons that when we created our office, the architecture of the office was intended to be both a place to work and a place to invite the community into. So we've thrown a lot of events there. Maybe a month and a half ago, we threw an awesome event with Meow Wolf, Thornburg, and us. And it wasn't just the executives mingling. This was the whole company mingling. And we need to do more of that, right? Like this is, it's not just about bringing the trailing spouses here. It's making sure that they're not miserable once they get here. And part of not being miserable is making sure that you have a community of people around you, people to talk to who aren't at your company. So one of the biggest problems we have at Descartes Labs is that, you know, we don't know enough people in the community. We don't connect enough people in the community, so you know we all know each other and we all talk to each other. And you know, at some point you want to branch out. So please, you know, let's make this happen. We're happy to host, and for anybody here, we're happy to host a mixer.
Peter Puri, I think there's going to be an email in the future for doing this.
Yeah. Thank you, Rich. Our CFO is sitting in the back here. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's going to rain tonight, but or snow. But we'll have to check with our group here. We have a product development, Rick DeRose, and our CFO, David Chu, and our admin and IT director, Lori Valdez, all from Pebble Labs here today. But just to touch a bit on the conversation, personally, I've been an entrepreneur in Santa Fe for 20 years. I think this is the fourth company I've been working for, or I've started and worked for. And I think there's a change going on right now that I've seen. And it's been very, very difficult to find financing for a startup. You have to get to proof of technology, proof of concept, and have 5 venture groups knocking on your door to get financing but things are changing, and like Mark's experience coming here and finding a group out of Los Alamos, I think it's important to note that the federal government spends probably $6 billion a year in this area on technology between Los Alamos, Sandia, and the Air Force Research Center at Kirtland. And there's a lot of great ideas, and the fact Pebble Labs was originated, I mean, we've been working on this stuff for 10 years, but some financiers, some money found us and basically blew it up. And there's some great ideas out there that we've been looking for grant funding to get off the ground that really, they die on the vine. So Santa Fe is in a unique position to really develop, and I like Mayor Weber's idea about controlling that and making it a quality of life issue as well as just a success story. I think that's really important. I'd hate to see the town change drastically. I mean, I like the fact that there's economic base here. We hire a lot of follow-on spouses. We have probably half of our staff is women. And they're all really gung-ho, science, switched-on people. So it's really exciting to be a part of it. But I do think that there's room for growth and networking, and I'm looking forward to talking to Mark and the other people that I'm meeting here today. And the barbecue probably next week could be better weather.
So just nice to finally see you, Pebble Labs. I'm glad you're here. Just one quick thing, and then I'll pass it. And that is that Santa Fe is going to change. It's changing now as we watch. Retail business is changing. Our retail stores are going out of business. That's going to continue. We're in the middle of a huge change. So we have an opportunity to support the kind of change we want it to be. So if we come from that place, I love New Mexico. I've lived here a long time. I love Santa Fe. I don't really want it to change either, but it is. And so what can we do to maintain the quality of life, the quality of community, and the qualities that are so interesting here as we go forward? I think that's part of what's in front of us to solve.
There's one announcement that wants to be made, which is just another networking event, so this is excellent.
Hi, everyone. I'm Deborah Breitfeld, and I'm the Executive Director of the New Mexico Technology Council. And so we partner with the City of Santa Fe and with Los Alamos National Labs, the Feynman Center, and with the High Tech Regional Exchange. And we have that meeting quarterly or every other month? Quarterly, which still is, it sounds like, could be had more often. But so we do have one scheduled for Tuesday, May 28th at 5:30 p.m. And I believe it's scheduled at Falling Colors that you're hosting it. So thank you very much. And I know with some of the transitions within the city, there might have been some concern about, who are the speakers? What's the program going to be? It sounds like the program can be just a great networking event at a really cool company. So please come, please watch for the announcements. Again, the New Mexico Technology Council, we're a membership organization supporting technology companies, the technology sector, actually across all industry sectors, but and the City of Santa Fe. So contact any one of us and please come and join and help us continue to grow that network and provide that facilitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah.
One of the things that I think is super awesome, and is me. I'm Mindy Hale. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Falling Colors, co-owner. I'm a fifth-generation New Mexican. I love this state. I want to see it grow with all of us. What I love about what I'm hearing is everyone is interested in quality of life. It's really important to our company. We've talked with Mark. It's important to him. I'm glad you're a happy, kind person. I mean, it permeates through all of us. It's what we are. It's what we do. No, it's awesome. And along those lines, we are in the process of becoming B certified. I know some of you have heard of this. Taos Ski Valley is B certified. I believe Meow Wolf is B certified. They did not pass it with this legislation to be a B corporation. There's a lot of benefits with being a benefit certified corporation or benefit certified company. Brooke has helped a couple of companies become B certified. She's working with us now as we finalize. Dr. Wellington Spedick from UNM Anderson School is doing an entire program at UNM around B certification. If you're interested in doing that, please look into it. It is about maintaining quality of life for your employees, for your community, the environment. It's a great movement and one that is readily available.
Sure. So I'll just make a quick announcement too. So we have an event on July 11th at Los Alamos. It's called Disrupt Tech. It's our 5th annual one. But what it is it's a gathering of entrepreneurs, scientists, investors, policymakers, everybody, just to celebrate technology and learn about the new cool technologies coming out of Los Alamos. But in closing, for me, reach out. Let's grab coffee. I'm in Santa Fe pretty often because you guys have really good food. Aside from that, I have money, so come talk to me.
No, it's great to see so many people together. We should definitely do this more regularly, like the regional roundtable is every quarter. You miss one, it's half a year before you got to another one. So more frequent is better. Equally, OpenEye has a great space for watching movies, getting together, and that's always available for everyone to use too. So thank you.
I knew I threw shade on government earlier, but I really want to thank Mayor Weber. I mean, we couldn't think about entrepreneurship. Like, we could not have a better mayor. He started a magazine, an entrepreneur, about entrepreneurship, right? So, so thank you, Mayor Weber, for everything that you're doing right now to really support this community. Thank you to the state economic development department, the Santa Fe economic development department. Of course, Albuquerque is part of this also, Los Alamos. So thanks to the government for all the support they give also.
And thank you, everybody, for being here and doing the things that you're doing. It's so awesome to see you all and to imagine the things that we can do.
Let me just say a couple last words. It's okay, Mark. You can throw shade on government. Couple things. A number of years ago, I wrote a book called Rules of Thumb. And one of the rules of thumb that I highlighted was every startup has 4 things: change, conversation, connection, and community. That's what we're doing today. We're talking about change. We're talking about the conversations we need to have. We're building community and we're making connections. That's what we need to continue to do, whether it's hosted by the city or it is spontaneous generation happening at offices all over the city where people simply reach out and say, hey, it's our turn to host a get-together, a barbecue, whatever it is. So you're right. It isn't incumbent upon government to be the convener, but government does have the power to convene, and we're perfectly happy to use that power to do more of this and to pick up where this day leaves off. I think we all know we need to do this faster and more frequently. The RPM of entrepreneurship in Santa Fe has got to increase. So if something isn't happening, make it happen. Step up, do it, offer to everybody in this room to host them. I'm serious. If you want to come meet each other for coffee in the mayor's office, happy to do it. If you haven't met somebody, come talk to me and we'll get a little cup of coffee like we did with you all. Last thing, Mark's right. I happen to be mayor right now. 25 years ago, I was starting a magazine. There is no other city in the United States where the mayor is co-founder of Fast Company magazine. So use that. Use that to your advantage. Bring people to the city on that basis. Bring me to see them. Let's take what we have as assets and really leverage the hell out of them. If it's me, and usually assets, in my experience, particularly in the knowledge economy, are people. Money's important, but money chases good ideas, and people have good ideas. We got plenty of good people here. We just haven't put the pieces together until now in a way to leverage that human asset, use the mayor, use the city, use everybody in the room to build on what already exists. We'll get more startups. The startups we have will be more likely to succeed. It becomes a virtuous circle, and that's what today is all about. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mayor. Another round of applause for the panel. It was great. And to everybody who came today, I want to say thank you. Before you guys go, there's two big things I want to do. One, I want to thank the team that helped us put us together. And two, to let you know that Liz and I can validate your parking here. It's a good thing. So if I haven't met you and you have a parking ticket, come see me. But Liz will be outside of the table signing off for validation. But I wanted to also thank Melly Lenzi. I don't know where she is. She's in the back. She helped me put this all together. Liz, who we just talked about. We had a steering committee from tech industry. It was Pamela, Mindy, Andy, who couldn't make it, and Craig, who's at the panel here. Thanks, Joe Abeta. He's doing all the videotaping. This is actually going to be on YouTube. He's going to stream it on YouTube. You might... No, it's a public event, so you didn't put your name on it. But it's happening. And then YouthWorks came with the burritos ultimately, but I want to thank YouthWorks. Mayor Weber, thank you for your time. I know you had some radio commitments, and thank you for putting this time in. And I want to also finally thank Matt Brown. He and I, we met almost 2 years ago. And he had this zany idea, we got to start these convenings. I was only 2 months in, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? So I want to say thank you, Matt. I know he's on to another hot town, San Antonio, but I want to say thank you for your support. It was great working with you, and we actually did it. So thanks a lot, and have a great day. My cards are out front. If you want to connect with me, I can help you to connect others. Thanks.